What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Apparently that clip decided to cut off right there. I was going back to start editing this video and realized that the GoPro apparently just shut off on me right there and did not have an intro beyond that point. So this is me from the future. I'm currently working on the next video, potentially 2 videos from now, depending on how long this takes to get done. But in this video, I am going to be cleaning up the engine bay. I'm gonna go ahead, pull all of the wiring, all of the brackets, everything outside of the engine that's still left in the bay. It's all gonna be coming out. Afterwards, I'm gonna be going through and just cleaning the entire bay. I've got pretty much this entire side cleaned up. At least everything removed from this side. I don't have obviously any of it cleaned yet. There's a couple of screws I've still left in. One thing that I will highly recommend that anybody working on a car does, throw some little Ziploc bags, label all the bolts you take out. Now this one's flywheel, it's all the bolts, the little spacer, crank position sensor. I've got the 2 bolts and the bracket inside of here, alternator bracket, just everything that comes off of the car. Just make sure that you label it, put it in a little bag somewhere, or find some sort of system that works best for you, that when you have a bolt like this and a car that's torn down to this point, you don't end up getting to the point that you're putting it back together, you find this one bolt, you have no clue where it goes, and then all of a sudden you're only putting the car back together with 80% of the bolts that you took out. Just makes it so much easier, saves a lot of time. So I've got all that pulled out. This is the battery, because the battery is in the trunk, so this is the cable that comes up to it. These are a couple of the wires that I've got wired into the ECU right now. I'm gonna work on the interior stuff later. This side, I've still got a little bit left to do, but this fuse box is not super easy to remove. I'm still kind of debating on whether or not I'm even going to pull this out, but to be able to do that, you have to come inside of the car and unclip all of the electrical down here, because that connects directly to the body harness. I've got to pull basically the entire body harness through the firewall just to be able to remove the fuse box. So that's not going to get pulled out right now. I went ahead and stopped the time lapse because I'm going to have to get the brake booster out. Don't absolutely have to, but I'd really like to be able to repaint it while I've got everything pulled down to this point, just so it looks a lot nicer than that. And then afterwards, I'm going to work on pulling these ABS lines out. I'm going to pull this stuff out because I actually am planning on doing ABS delete. And when you do that, you can delete all of these lines. When the brake master is sitting here, you've just got to splice in, tie a couple of lines in up here to be able to make sure that you still get brake fluid to all of your calipers. But that will be a later video. I'll probably bring you guys along and be able to see exactly how that needs to be done. There's not a ton of videos online that show how to do that. So I am going to cut it off here, and I will get back to you guys in just a bit when I have the brake booster removed. All right, you guys, so we're back. I did get that out, and I actually got a couple other things done as well while we were in here. I got the brake booster removed. Also went ahead and pulled out the power steering rack. My reason for that, I have actually got underneath the dashboard kind of hidden back inside of there, I've actually got an e36 power steering rack. And what that does is it will reduce the steering ratio so that it'll go lock to lock a little bit quicker. It gets a little bit better steering response. If I'm not wrong, the factory e30 power steering rack is 3.7 turns lock to lock, and putting on the e36 one instead of the e30 one, it brings it down to 3.2 turns lock to lock. So speeds up the ratio quite a bit. There is one that's a little bit shorter even. If you get an e36 Z3 specific steering rack, it actually brings it all the way down to 2.7 turns. I have driven a car that has that. It felt great. However, I have heard a couple of people complain a little bit about the fact that it gets a little bit twitchy sometimes at high speed because of how short it is. So just to be safe, make sure I didn't have any issues. I'm not using this as a drift car, as a dedicated track car, as anything that I really need to be able to have that short steering ratio. So because of that, I went ahead and went with the e36 rack. Still give me a little bit quicker response, a little bit shorter ratios, a new rack, and should feel quite a bit better in the car. So now at the point that we're at, I'm gonna be going ahead and setting up the time lapse again so that I can show you guys as I come through here, throw away all this trash that's kind of through here, pull up a couple of the little clips that are in here, and vacuum everything, degrease everything, and try my best to make this bay look as clean as possible so that we can move on to the next step. All right, everybody, so I'm done with the amount of it that I'm going to go, at least at this point. Got a lot of the grease off. There's no real heavy buildup anywhere anymore. It's all pretty clean. Not going to go too crazy about it because I'm actually going to be shaving the bay also. So a lot of these brackets, all this stuff's going to be coming off. And because it's all going to be coming off, I'm going to be in here grinding and welding and body working stuff anyway. I'm going to end up putting patch panels in here that delete all those small holes that aren't necessary. So rather than making it perfect right now, got it good enough that I'm not going to get myself too greasy trying to work on it, and get the rest of this stuff done before I prep it real nice to be able to repaint this. I think I've pretty much decided I'm probably going to use the Steel It paint. That's the weldable, like, rattle can paint. I'm seeing a lot of people use it and being pretty successful with it, so I'm going to give that a try. Also, you probably see I've bent up all these lines from the ABS module. Stuff's all going to be cut off right about back here, and I'm going to be running all new lines for the ABS delete, so that's not any issue. There's a little bit of rust up here around the firewall that was kind of my big reason for making the decision to respray the bay. Just wanting to kind of touch up some of that rust before I put everything back together so that it doesn't spread. So that is it's probably gonna be it for this one. I will see you guys in the next one.